And then I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you're good seeing my screen. I just got to kind of move some things around. Move this down over here in the corner. This is almost annoying. Okay. I hear a lot of people getting in now. So, okay. So we are doing Google Slides today. It's probably one of my favorite, although I have a lot of favorites, but Google Slides definitely up there as one of my favorite of the G Suite apps. It could be used in so many more ways than what we probably think of it being as a slideshow presentation. So I'm going to start with the basics, and we could probably do 4 webinars just on Google Slides, but I'm going to start with the basics, but then I want to take the last few minutes just to kind of show you some of its possibilities in other things that you can do with it, just to kind of give you a sense of where you can go with it once you learn, go a little bit past the basics. So as like any of the other G Suite apps, there are numerous ways to get to it. You could be in your drive, click on new, and go down to Google Slides. If you go over to the arrow, there are some templates. Another option is you could open up a new tab and go to slides.new. That would just bring you to a blank Google Slides. You could also go to slides.google.com, or if you're on your iPad and you have the app, you could also do that as well. So numerous ways to get there. I'm going to just start by showing you what the templates might look like. I generally don't use templates, but they are useful for many different reasons. So I'm going to just minimize this over here. Okay, so this would be a blank screen, and then there's tons of different layouts depending on what you want to do with it. Here are some education ones. They show you some flashcards, a field trip, book report. So there are some things in here. Google Slides could do way more than what's in the template gallery, but just want to show you that it's there. So I'm just going to hit blank and get into a blank Google Slides. Okay, so I'm going to do kind of what I did last week when I go through each one of the different menus and show it to you. You're going to see a lot of similarities with Google Docs, even with Google Drive. So once you kind of get into one of the G Suite apps and get comfortable with it, you're going to see a lot of things that are pretty much the same. So different, and then I would kind of think of this more like, I think you guys are iPads, a lot of you, so you would think Keynote or PowerPoint would be similar with definitely more features. So starting up here, anything I do up here, I can do, so we'll just do sample slide. Okay, presentation. Okay, so whatever I type in this first thing, and I click over here because I want to give it a name. I click in, it automatically populates, but I have the ability to change it to whatever I want to change it to. If I click over here to my drive, I can then put it in my drive into whatever folder makes sense for me, or I could click on new folder and add it to a folder. Okay. Starring, we talked about starring when we did Google Drive and Google Docs, same exact thing. If you want to start and have the ability to find it later, there's also many other ways to find it, but a lot of people do like doing the star. I can move things, okay, and then I can see a document status, any editing abilities. Okay, so down here it looks a little different, and this row will change depending on what I'm doing down here. So you'll notice things in here will change. You'll have more additions based on what I'm doing and where I'm at. So you have some built-in themes, and this is similar to PowerPoint or Keynote, that you can click on it, and then that theme will kind of go throughout the document. So you could go in and you could change it. I'm actually going to take it off and not have a theme right now. There are websites that are available. I think one is called Slides Mania and Slides Carnival that work for PowerPoint as well as Google Slides that have really nice designs that you can just import right in and use depending on what if you're doing a presentation or something like that. Okay, so we'll just start with going across. This is a new slide. So if I wanted to add a new slide, I could hit plus, and that would bring in a new slide. I could click on the arrow and I could change the layout of the slide. So I could do new slide with layout. Then these are the options that I have depending on what I'm doing. Am I going to do a caption, a title with body, title only? So you have some options of how it looks. Here are some that you would have 2 columns. So you have lots of options built into it. You could also right click on the slide and also have the ability to apply a different layout. So right clicking also gives you lots of different ideas. So I'm going to just stay going across here. So undo, redo, print. The paint formatting roller is not showing up yet, but it will. And just like Google Docs, it works very similarly, including colors and fills and all that stuff. This gives you the ability to zoom in on your Google slide or zoom out. This is your select tool, text boxes, lots of stuff you could do with images. I'll talk about that in a little while. You could add different shapes, different lines, or if you click, you have different arrows, things like that you can add. And then we have the commenting, and we have an explore tool as well. So, okay, so that kind of gives you the basic going across. Now we're going to go down. Under File, again, this is going to look similar to Google Docs. You can share by clicking here. You could also share documents by clicking the share, okay? We're going to talk about sharing again. And again, it's going to be similar, but this way you'll kind of get more used to it the more I show it to you. So if I wanted to do a new presentation, or I could open up any of these other G Suite apps, open. I could import slides from other Google slide presentations, which is a nice thing to be able to do, just import specific slides. I can make a copy of this presentation, the entire presentation, or maybe I just want to make a copy of selected slides. I could download 2 different things. I could go with PowerPoint, PNG, JPEG, those are all image files, a PDF. So I have the same capabilities like I did in Google Docs. Same thing, email as attachment. If you're using Gmail, you would have that ability. You can make this document available offline, which would give you, if you were going to be with no Wi-Fi, you want to have the ability to work on it, you would say make it available offline. You would need to do that prior to going offline. But then once you go back on, it would now sync with the cloud. So same with Google Docs, you have the version history. So you don't have to worry about making copies of things. You can go back in history and anything that's been done in this document. And again, name it, see the version history. I'm going to kind of move on from that because I think a lot of you guys were in last week, so I'd rather show you a lot of the other features that are in this, but I'm happy to go back to it later if you have any questions and show that to you. I could rename the document by clicking here or by just kind of clicking in here and typing in whatever the new name should be. I could also rename it from the Google Drive. Okay, I can move it to another folder and I can add a shortcut to Drive. So maybe I want to add it to multiple places, and this kind of brings us back to our Google Drive webinar. You can have this same file accessible in multiple places that make sense for you. It doesn't mean it's multiple copies, it's the same file, just able to access it from different places. I can move it to the trash. I could publish this to the web, so this could be added to a website. It could be considered like a web page if you wanted to publish it out. Student work, student publishing, that would be a great way to do it. Document details, so I can get specific details where this document is located, who has the ability to edit it, what were all the changes that were done. I could change it, different languages. Page setup, which I'm going to show you now, print preview, settings, and print. So page setup is interesting because we always think of a presentation as being that typical widescreen look, but we don't necessarily have to do Google Slides as a presentation. It could be a worksheet. It could be an interactive document. It could be a digital portfolio. It could be a storybook. This could be so many different things than a presentation. And the way to kind of change that is by clicking on page setup, and I have some different options. So these page setups could change based on where you're presenting. If you're doing it for a presentation, where are you presenting it to? Maybe you're going to be in the auditorium and you have a specific type of computer or whatever it is. So you have those capabilities. But if I click on custom, I have the ability to change how I want to see this. So what I might want to do is say, you know what, I'm going to make this a regular page size. I'm going to make it 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to hit apply. Now I have a regular 8.5 by 11, which looks like a Google Doc. Okay, different because it's slides, you're seeing it a little differently. But what I love about Google Slides is you have the ability to move text around and make columns and manipulate images and bring in videos and make it completely interactive with more ease than Google Docs does, with a lot of the same functions. So this kind of changes what Google Slides can do. Okay, so I'm going to show you this, but I'm going to change it back for now just to show you just other things that we can do with this. So I'm just going to hit undo. It's going to bring me back to the original format. Okay, so going back down, we kind of went through most. We can now go to print settings and preview. So again, I could see what is it going to look like. I could see how am I going to print it? Do I want to print it out with notes, 2 slides per page? So these are my different printing options if you were going to print it. Let's see. I could hide the background. Okay, there is no background on this. Download as a PDF and print. So these are just my kind of different printing capabilities. Okay, so I'm going to just close preview and get out of that. And then the last one was just printing. So when you go down to print, it's going to kind of generate what it looks like. You'll be able to choose where it gets printed to, if it's going to be color, black and white, more settings. So this is your basic print screen. Okay, edit, basic edit, undo, redo, paste. Again, these to the right show the keyboard shortcuts. Paste without formatting works very similar to paste without formatting, or the same as paste without formatting in Google Docs. So I'm going to give an example of this. So let's say I have this is the body of the text. And now I'm going to pull text from another document. So let me see if I have anything I want to pull up here. I'm just going to grab it from a website or something. Let's see if it's going to let me pull up. I'll try and just grab some text from here and paste it in. Okay, so I'm just going to hit copy, control, I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go back into my slide. Now, if I just went down and I hit paste, it's pasting it in the same font where I took the text from. Let's say, and I'm going to undo this, I want to keep it as the same font as what I already had in there. Now I'm going to go edit and paste without formatting. It's going to keep it in the same font text size as what I originally had in there. So that's a nice feature, because other times you're spending a lot of time moving things around and changing things. Okay. You could duplicate. So let's say you want to duplicate text boxes, things like that. You have the ability to duplicate. Select all, because you have a lot of different text boxes, images, things going on in here. So you have the ability to select all. and find and replace. Okay, view. So there are different ways to view. You could view in present mode, and we're going to talk about that later because there's different things that you could do in present mode. So I'm going to get back to that later. I've never done motion, but I think you could animate using the motion. Master brings you just like the master in Google Docs. I could go into a master. Now I have the ability to edit what all my different slides could look like in the layout, depending on how I want it. So I could change the master to have this title, a different font, and a different size, and a different color. I'm just throwing anything in there. I'm going to make it bold, and then I can change the different levels. Okay, I can add a logo to a section of the page. So the master stays the same throughout. So once I'm done with that, I edit out, I X out of my master. But now you can see every time I have a header in that master page, it's going to have that, that's going to be the font. It automatically is going to do that. Okay, so that is a master. Okay, so grid view is very cool, and I'm gonna not get advanced till later to show you what grid view is, but basically it just shows you the different slides in a grid view, but I'm gonna show you how this would work in the classroom that I love, but I'm gonna wait so we get through all this other stuff first to go back to that. Okay. Zoom, so you could zoom in, you could show the ruler or get rid of the ruler. Different guides to kind of help you snap things into place. Snap to grids. You could show speaker notes or you don't have to, and I'm going to show you something about speaker notes shortly. And I could bring this whole thing into a full screen view to make more room to type. So just so you can see what that looks like, kind of gets rid of all that stuff up here and it gives me more room. So I'm just going to escape and get out of that. Okay, insert to me is where all like magic happens. There's lots of things you could do in insert. So we're going to start by inserting an image. So I could take an image, and again, this is similar with a little more capabilities as Google Docs. I could upload from a computer, and I could just upload, find the image I want to find. I could search on the web. So this is going to bring me back to that Explore tool that's in Google Docs. Similar. So I could search for an image. So let's say, I don't know why, we're going to go with the beach. I think I want mountain. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to click on here. I'm going to find a beach that I like, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to hit insert, or I could just drag it on over. It's automatically going to create it, bring it in. It's going to take up the whole page. I have the ability to scale it down. I'm going to grab it from the corner, and I'm going to move it down. Okay, so I could grab it, and I can move it up, and now I have my nice picture. Now, when you bring in images, you have a lot of capabilities with the image. I'm going to kind of wait for a minute to kind of show you what you could do with an image when it's brought in. So another thing that the Explore tool allows you to do, if I click on it, it will give me sometimes, it doesn't do it all the time, but it'll give me suggested layouts of what could look good. You don't have to use them, but sometimes it comes up with a good layout that I'm like, oh, I'm just going to use that layout. So just so you know that it can do that. Okay, so I just inserted an image from the web. I could also insert an image from my Google Drive, from my Google Photos, by a URL. And I'm going to show you that because it's a fun way to bring in GIFs or GIFs or whatever you want to call them. I could also bring it in and take a picture with my camera. And I'm going to talk later about how I could take a picture of a worksheet or a PDF, bring it in, and make it an editable worksheet. Okay, so I'm going to talk about by URL. So I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to go to a website, and there's plenty out there. I always go to giphy.com. And what I'm going to do is I use this with my students in my daily agenda. just to kind of, they actually come in now and look at the board because they like looking at my GIFs. But you could find GIFs on any single topic that you want. So I just had my students make face masks. So we'll just put in face masks. And again, there's something for everything in here. Got to be careful, not always appropriate, to make sure you're doing what's right. So if I click on here, as you can see from the pictures, okay, little silly, but I'm just going to show it to you for sakes of showing it. I'm going to click on media. I'm going to copy. It's copying the URL, and I could have copied any one of these. I use either social MP4. They always seem to work. But now if I click back into my document and I go insert image by URL and I paste it here, it's going to come up and I'm going to hit insert and it's going to bring me right in, and it's completely scalable. So I'm not going to keep this one in there, but I just wanted to show you that that's available. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to click on it and get rid of it. So you could also do it, doesn't have to be a GIF. It could be another image that you find out on the web that you want to insert. So that's image. Text box is just what you would think of a text box. You can click on text box from here or from here. I can now come over here. I have my crosshead. I could just click, drag, and I made a text box that I can now write text in here, and I have the ability to change, center, change the font, change the color, anything that I would like to do. Okay, so I would just click and highlight, and I can change the color. I could change the fill, a highlight color. I could change the fill of the box. So lots of capabilities. If you look over here, you can see the fill color. I can make this a light blue, and it changes the box light blue. So you could change the border color. So maybe I want to change the border color to with the thickness. So you have lots of different abilities on designing in here. Okay. Okay, so that's text box. You could duplicate text boxes. And just to show you the paint roller again, if I say, okay, I like this, I'm going to highlight. I'm going to highlight here. I'm going to click on my paint roller. And now I'm going to click over here. It automatically changed the text box, because that's what I had highlighted, the actual box, to have the same fill and border. If I wanted to do the text, I would highlight the text, click on the paint roller, and now I would click and highlight all my text, and it would change the text. And it was centered. That's why this looks like that. So paint roller comes in very handy. Okay, audio. So this is new, and it kind of opens up a lot of opportunities. This will not work on an iPad. So you would want to be on a desktop with a microphone, a Chromebook, something like that if you wanted to do it. But you could record audio. So I've recorded audio on my phone or on my iPad, and then I upload it. If you have the apps downloaded on your phone or on your iPad, you could click over to where you could kind of go to more, and you could automatically add your audio file to Google Drive and then have the ability to upload. Let's see if I don't know if I have any audio in here, so I'm not going to give you a good example, but it's an MP3 file. It would come right up. I would click on it, and it would actually bring in audio. So for this, it's great because I could kind of narrate the Google slide and talk about the Google slide presentation. So lots of things you could do with the insert audio option. I believe that the student, I'm not sure if the student would be able to, if they were on an iPad, be able to listen to the audio. So I would have to check on that on the iPad. Okay, video. I'm going to go to a new slide. I love this feature. So I could insert video. I can now do a search for either any video. So maybe it's a screencast that I did, Screencast-O-Matic. I've done screencasts on my iPad, using my iPad as a screen recorder, uploaded them. But I could use YouTube. So I could do a search within here. for, I don't know, photos. Okay, and I'm grabbing anything. Obviously, if you were doing this with students, you would probably want to check it before you did it. So it's going to search, but I could search from outside YouTube, copy the URL, and then just paste it in. I just happen to do a search. I could click on it, hit select. It's going to bring in this video. What I love about doing it this way, as opposed to sending them a link to YouTube, it gets rid of all the ads. So all of the ads, all the comments below that you always have to worry about, you don't have to worry about anymore. I have the ability to scale this to be the entire page. So I could scale this to whatever size, or I could just say, you know what, I'm just going to make this really small and I'm going to put it over on the corner of the presentation. Hit play. If the student wanted to bring it up, they could click on YouTube and it would bring it up, but they could actually watch the recording right from in here. So now I also have a lot of other options with this. Whoop. Okay, let me click off. Okay, so I'm going to move this. Yes?
There's a question. If YouTube is blocked, will this unblock it for kids?
No. No. So you would have to, I mean, in my district, we have to approve it. We have the ability to go to a YouTube video and hit approve, which makes it okay for the students. But no, they're not going to have the ability to, you'd want to go with a downloaded version if you have YouTube blocked. Because it's still a YouTube, it's just a link to it. So I would download it and bring it up if you have it blocked. But I love that it kind of gets rid of, you know, it gets rid of all the ads in the beginning and gets rid of all the comments, kind of focuses the student right on to the video. But if you had recorded a video like, you know, if you had a musical something and you recorded it and you could bring it in there, you know, it's a great way to share out different videos within it. I'm going to show you some examples in a little while of ways to use video inside documents in the classroom. So what I also like about this, so I could click on here. I have the ability to change when this video starts and or when the video ends. So if you look over here, I could have video playback. I could say, you know what, I only want it to start 30 seconds in and I want it to end earlier. Maybe I only want to show 2 minutes of a video clip. I have that ability to do it right in here. I could autoplay it. So if I was in presentation mode and it went to this slide, it would automatically start playing if I checked on this. I could also mute the audio. I could change the size, rotation, position, drop shadow. So lots of abilities of things that I could do with a video in here. Okay, so I use this all the time. I do this for flipped classroom where you're screen recording yourself. Maybe you're recording a presentation and then I just push it out there. And again, I'll give you examples in a little while how that can be used. Okay, shapes. So I'm going to go back as we go into shapes. I'm going to kind of open up a new blank slide and I'm going to change the layout. I'm going to right click. I'm just going to go with a blank layout. So I'm going to bring in another picture. So again, to do a picture, I could do insert, image. I could search from the web. I'm just going to do that and we'll just bring in this nice picture. Again, now I could have just said insert, but I'm dragging it over there. So now I have this nice picture. A couple things I could do. I could leave this picture here. I could draw text boxes over it. So let's say it's a picture of, I don't know, the water or a map. I can make text boxes and make this where it's a fillable. Maybe the students would have to fill in the areas on the picture. Okay, so I'm just giving you ideas. But let's say I just want to do it for aesthetic reasons and show, do something with this photo. I have some abilities up here. So if I want to crop the image, I could click on crop. I get this dark black line, so I can scroll up and I could cut this kind of in. Maybe I don't want it so wide. So you have some cropping abilities by doing that. I'm going to hit undo. But if I click on this arrow, to mask image, I have the ability to change it from being a rectangle to any one of these shapes. So let's say I want to make it a circle. If I click on circle and click off, now I have a nice circle. It's nice and pretty. I can now scale it down to size, and I could bring it up and move it up over here. Okay, so lots of different design capabilities. Okay, I could add another box behind it and make it, and I am not the designer, so I'm gonna just kind of fake this, fill this with a color. Background will go maybe blue. I could drag it, pull it behind, okay? And I have the ability then that I want to arrange this, and I'm going to send it backwards. Okay, so now this is kind of, doesn't look good, but you can get the picture of what I was trying to do. So you have a lot of capabilities when it comes to design with images. In addition, I had other capabilities to replace an image. I have formatting options, and so I could change the size, the rotation, position, recolor. I'm going to try not to go into too much of this, but just so you know it's available. And that would be that. Okay, let's see. So we're down to shape. So again, you could change your shapes. You have lots of different capabilities. You could color in the shapes. Table, just like Google Docs, I could add in a table. Maybe I want it 3 wide by 2 down. I have the ability to drag it, move it down. There's different ways, and it kind of works very similar to what Google Docs is, where you could then go in and change, you know, pros, cons, comments. I don't know, I'm just throwing anything in there. But you get the idea. And I could put borders around here or do what I want with that. Chart, you could bring in charts. You could bring in charts from sheets, bar charts, column charts, things like that. I'm going to try to not go there, a little more advanced. I could bring in diagrams. So if I click on diagrams, there's tons of timelines, things like that, that I could just click and I could drag in. I could have different steps, different colors, lots of ways to do this, social studies, timelines, things like that. I'm going to just exit out. Okay. Word art, you could do word art. You have different lines. I'm sorry, we're going to move a little faster because it's 22 and I feel like I haven't gotten through a lot of this stuff yet. Special characters, you have animations that you can do, have when things come in, things to do like that. That would be more for a presentation. Linking works exactly the same way as Google Docs, but I do want to show you something. So let's say I want to link a document. I'm just going to go to Newsella, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to copy the link. I'm going to go in here, and you have to have text. So I'm going to say, I'm going to click in this box here. I'm going to type Newsella. I'm going to highlight it. Again, I could get there by clicking over here to link or insert link, and it's similar. So I highlighted text, but I could change what you see, but then I would paste the link and hit apply. Another option, what you could do, and I'm just going to use Con so you can get it. I can click on a link, but I can link to other slides within this presentation. So if I click on slides in this presentation, all the slides that are in here are listed. So I could say, okay, if I click on here, I want to bring it to the previous slide or the next slide, the first slide. Okay, so it's going to bring me up there. I'm going to hit apply. So if I click on here, it's going to bring me to my first slide. So think about this when, you know, you could do like the Jeopardy game, things like that. And there are templates out there, which I'm going to show you in a little while, that you could do amazing things with game-based learning, because you have that ability to kind of interconnect and link slides together. Okay, let's see. And things are changing based on what I'm clicking on. So just so you know that. Okay. Commenting works the same as Google Docs. I don't want to get into it too much, but you could basically, if you're collaborating on a document, I'm going to X out of here. If you're collaborating on a document, I could hit there or click on comments. And I'm going to show you what this looks like in the classroom in a little while. But the same way as you did it with Google Docs, you have the same ability to do it with Google Slides. I could do a new slide by here and slide numbers, where if I click on slide numbers, I could put slide numbers on or turn them off. Okay, formatting. So this we kind of went over. You could just format your text, your alignment. Basically, the things that I kind of showed you along this bar is formatting. Slide, same thing. You could do a new slide, duplicate a slide. So again, 3 to 5 ways to do everything. You could change backgrounds. So background is here. It's also here. So I could say, I want the background to be this color right here. Or I can make it be an image. So it might be cool to have an image of beach. I'm going with the beach theme, looking for warm weather, and click on that and insert it. So now my whole background is going to be the beach. I could apply it to my theme if I had a theme, but I'm just going to hit done, or I could reset it. So we have a beach on top of a beach, but that's the background. So where I could see the background being used in the classroom, if you had a diagram or a picture of something where you wanted people to label or do things, you put it in the background. And now I could add a text box and I could draw a text box. I can make it white. Now the student might have to label things in here. Okay, if I sent this out as something I was sending out to the student. Okay, moving on. So that is background. These are the different layouts. We talked about this. This is transitioning from one slide to the next. Lots of capabilities with this, but I'm going to stay away from that for now. This is to go back in and edit the master, and this is how to go change the theme. Okay, we kept it a simple theme, but you could change the theme. Arrange kind of brings you to, do you want to bring things to the front? You could rotate things, group things together. This is pretty standard to what Keynote and or PowerPoint is, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. You have tools, so you have spelling, grammar. You have a dictionary built in. This is the Explore tool, again, so I could click from here, or I could go down here and get the Explore tool from here. Same thing as Google Docs. I could do a search for photosynthesis. It's going to bring in different web pages that I could drag in. So this would be good if your students were doing some kind of research project and they never remember where they got their information from. They could be dragging it down and pulling it in. They could be, scrolling through, looking for information, staying within Google Slides. They could also look at images, and they could also look from their drive. So here is a great example of taking this, dragging it in there, and having students then maybe have it like fillable. Okay, I'm going to get out of here. Okay. Linked objects. This is when things are linked to other things. Again, more complicated. I'm not going to go there. This is a dictionary. I haven't talked about Q&A, but I will shortly. Voice typing. So we talked about voice typing with Google Docs. Voice typing works here. Again, not going to be available on your iPad, but if you were on another device that had a speaker, it voice types in speaker notes. So if I click on here, I get my microphone, but it's going to blink down here. These are where my speaker notes are. So I can now click on here. Now, whatever I say in here, they could be speaker notes, period, but they could also be text that I might want to copy and add into my Google Slide presentation. So this works very similar to Google Docs, but I could take this if I want and copy and highlight. So you can't speak directly into the presentation, but I can now copy, make a text box and paste it in. All right. We're not going to go to script editor. There are some preferences that you have the ability to automatically capitalize words, things like that. This is pretty much, you know, self-explanatory when you go into it. Okay. There are accessibility settings that they'll look a little different on your iPad because you also have your iPad accessibility settings. There are tons of add-ons. This would be, we could have webinars on all of these, but for those of you using Nearpod I've been using for many years, there's now a direct integration with Google Slides. So to get an add-on, and again, this could be another whole webinar, so I'm not going to go there, but I just want to show you its capabilities. If I click on Nearpod and open Nearpod, it's going to show up all its interactive capabilities right over here to the right. So, and I'm going to say this if you're familiar with it. So I could log in. I probably didn't want to do that now, but all right, I'll quickly do it anyway, because it is a great function for Nearpod, because I always struggled with Nearpod because it had limited editing capabilities in its presentation. But now I have the ability to go in a slide and say, you know what, I'm going to click over here and I'm going to add some of the different interactive capabilities right from within here. And then when I'm done, I hit right from here. I'm not doing it right, but I just wanted to kind of show you because I have my Hauppauge account has my main account. I can now add all the interactive capabilities of Nearpod, and then it just says click and go to Nearpod. It brings me right into Nearpod. So Google Slides works really well now with Nearpod, and there are some other interactive presentations, something called Pear Deck, another great interactive Google Slides for the classroom. Other add-ons, things like that. I'm not going to go talk through it now. Help, as in Google Docs, there's a lot of training updates that you can go in and get more help, as well as keyboard shortcuts. Oh my gosh, it's already so late. Okay. Presentation. So you click over here to the arrow. You have the ability to do present from the beginning. Okay, so your typical presentation mode, and you would, click to go through all the different ones. Okay, again, I could click on here, play the video. So I have the ability to just do your typical presentation. What I also have the ability to do is a Q&A. So this is great to get students involved when you're doing a presentation in the class. So once I click on here, what happens, if I could pause it, I could start from the beginning. I have the ability to ask the students, so I'm going to start new. The students can go to a URL, go to slides.app, they'll click on this, and they could type in questions that maybe are going on along in the presentation, and this doesn't need to be necessarily students. And you could be seeing these notes, okay, of what the student is asking, so you don't have to stop at that time with the teacher, with the student raising hands. You can wait, and you could then stop, like kind of what we're doing with the chat, and be able to answer those questions. All right, so this is the Q&A feature. Okay, so they would ask a question, and I could go back and look at this when the presentation is over, which is nice to say, okay, what were some of the questions that were asked during this presentation? Okay. Oop. I'm trying to get out of here now. Okay, so that is the Q&A feature. Sharing is very similar to the sharing in Google Docs. So I'm going to cover this briefly because I really want to get to some of the ways that you can use Google Slides. So this is pretty much identical. This now is what the new look's going to be. So it's showing kind of, whenever they add a new feature to G Suite, it kind of always gives you a little pop-up to tell you about it. So, and then it just tells you to got it. So I could add people. So if I wanted to add Kelly, I could start typing her name. I can add her. She could be an editor. She could just have the ability to comment or just have the ability to view. Okay, so we can make her an editor. She could get notified. I could send her a message. okay? And it shows you what it is, and I'm gonna hit send. So sorry, Kelly, but you're gonna get an email, and I could say it was added, and if I hover over, it shows it's shared with one person. So if I go back into this, I also have the ability to just copy a link and change it that anyone with a link, whether they're in or outside of the districts, okay, so this just changed recently, which is why it's giving me these pop-ups. Anyone with a link can view, okay, so you need to, get comfortable with this. Anyone with a link can view, can they comment, or they can edit. I've had my entire class in here, and I'm going to show you how that looks in the classroom. All right, so that is the different sharing capabilities that you have, and it's just like Google Docs. And once we do Google Forms, that'll look similar as well. Okay, so any questions? Yep.
Yeah, quick question. So when you share, what view is it shared in? Is it editing, presentation, or do you pick?
You choose. So if you're just giving them the ability to view, they're going to see all this, but they're going to not have the ability to edit it. It's just going to be for viewing purposes. If you gave them the ability to edit, I'm going to show you what that could look like in the classroom. Anyone who's in there, it's going to just look like docs. So if you jumped in here right now, Kelly, I could see which page you're on. Your little cursor is going to show up, and I'm going to see you pop up here, and you could all be editing. Okay, so pretty much the same as docs. So you have to know what permissions you're sharing. Right now I said anyone with a link can, I think I said can view. Now I got to remember what I did. Okay, you have the ability to edit, but anyone on the internet has the ability to view. Okay, so only you have the ability to go in and edit. Everyone else just has the ability to view. So you could change this. I could just say anyone who has a link has the ability to edit or to comment. Okay.
Is there, if I want people to just see the presentation, I don't want them to edit. I don't even want them to see the editing features. I just want them to get the presentation. Can that happen?
Yeah, what I would do is publish it to the web and then just send out that published version. That would be, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. You would go to File, and you could download as an image, but what I would do is I would say publish to the web and auto advance slides. You could have it auto advance or whatever, but I'm going to quickly show you. You could embed this. I'm going to publish it. Okay, if you take this link, I'm going to copy it and I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to open up a new, and I'll paste it in here. This is what the published version looks like. All right.
Great.
All right, so that's the published version. And you could have also embed that in your in a website or something like that. So Google Sites is the website version of G Suite apps, and it kind of integrates all this stuff together. Okay, so we only have a few minutes, but I'm going to quickly try to go through some ways. So I went through the basic as much as I could, all right? So you kind of got a gist for it. But now I want to just kind of show you different ways that this could be used in the classroom. Even not even in the classroom. This could be a school newsletter that I would change to 8.5 by 11. And it could be an interactive newsletter. So you could have videos with highlights of things that have gone on in the school, and the students can see the videos, and you can have images, and you can adjust things, and you can add text. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just things that are done in the classroom. So this is something I did with a book study, Shake Up Learning, that I did in the in-service class. So this is my title page. And this I've done with my students as well. Actually, I did this while we were distant learning. The second slide were directions. And then I modeled what it looked like. So what they did is they took a picture with their camera or their screenshot, and they had to circle the best part of the book or the best part of the chapter and write about it. And then I brought in a little Bitmoji. So I gave an exemplar. And then I kind of gave, because these were teachers who kind of sometimes have a hard time with technology, so I gave them the ability to, okay, I tried my best, but I couldn't do it. But then my students, which were teachers, had to post it. They got creative. So think about this in an ELA classroom where they're taking their most memorable piece of that chapter or book, and they're taking pictures of it and they're writing about it. And now students are commenting about it. So it really goes much more in depth of a book study or reading a book using these different features. So what I did is I created this document with the directions and with my example, Then I set up, if I go all the way down, let's see, I set up a template. And then I just duplicated this slide for as many students were in my class. And then when I sent this out, which I sent it out through Google Classroom, but you could send it out as a link that everyone can edit. Now, all the students were able to go in, and basically what I told them to do was find a free slide, put your name in, your name here, take a picture. Then I told them to get fancy, do things with it. But what is great about this is I could turn this into grid view. I could now, if I was in the classroom with my students, I could see them working on this document in real time, and I could offer feedback before they even handed in the assignment. So I could click on Rebecca and I could say, hey, Rebecca, send her a comment. You might want to look at this, or you might want to think about this. So before I'm even getting the assignment turned into me, I have the ability to offer feedback. Okay, and I'm seeing the students working in real time. Okay, we're working remotely, so everything is asynchronous, but just to show you some of its capabilities for why you would have people all editing a document at one time. Okay, let's see, some other examples. This is, and I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but there's something called HyperDocs. And Google makes it so easy to do a HyperDoc. So you could link to different documents and different tech tools and so many different examples. But there's a website called hyperdocs.co. And there are tons and tons of things to take. Not teachers pay teachers, but teachers give teachers that you can take and edit for your own. So this is an assignment or content delivery for a solar system. So each slide kind of goes through the different motions of what you would do to deliver a topic. You would engage your students, so they put this in there. And again, this is more elaborate. It can be done in a simple way. And there's tons of free templates out there that you can just use and edit to make your own or use it yourself. So then you're exploring. So maybe here you're clicking, maybe you're going into a Quizlet. Maybe you embedded a video. Okay, so tons of ways that you can just make this a clickable way for students to be working on their own, going through the process of learning the content. Explain. So maybe this could be a link to a Padlet or something where they have to collaborate together on something. They're watching a video, and there's tons of examples. So I just kind of want to give you a brief idea. This is where they have to apply. So right now, the student has to go in here and type, my planet is. Okay, so this could be a project, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but I just want to show you a lot of ways that this could be used. So now, which planet would you like to travel to? You're turning in your project here. You could look at all your projects here, and you can vote on which planet or project you like the best. Everything is getting done in this one document. Okay, so reflect, how did it go? Extend, so if you wanted to extend their learning, what else could I learn? Okay, so this is such a great way to deliver a lesson. And again, this is elaborate, okay, so don't get overwhelmed by it, because it could be done very simple. Here's one for an ELA, Shared Wonder. And I just took these from the hyperdocs.co. They're free. It's a view only, so this is what the view only mode looks like. You don't have the ability to edit, but I could do file, make a copy, and just kind of edit it and make it my own. So this kind of walks about the different, relationships in a book. Okay, it showed your standards. There's videos built in. I could link to outside tech tools to explain everything, what other tech tools you guys are already using. You just grab a link to it and it could bring you to it. Okay, so briefly summarize. So it just gives you lots and lots of different ideas of what you can do. Insert your completed storyboard. So storyboards, and I haven't even kind of broke the ice of some of the things that can be done within here. Let's see. You could also do interactive newsletters, worksheets. Again, I could take a worksheet, make the background a worksheet, okay, so it's not movable, and just put text boxes where the students have to fill it in and upload it. Icebreakers, flipped class, so I could do a screencast of the presentation and upload it for a flipped classroom or like some type of blended learning strategy. Drag and drop activities. So let me see, I thought I gave an example. Okay, so I did not do this, but this will give you an example. So this is a Google slide. They brought in the picture, and they sent it out that the student now has to take the different text and drag it to different locations. So you're making this an interactive experience. This isn't something that they just have to look up. So now it's a worksheet that they are doing things with. So, and there's tons of examples out there from an elementary level where they're taking apples from a tree and dropping it into buckets while they're counting. This is a little bit more elaborate. Here's an example of taking, and again, this is going a little fast, but you're making it completely interactive. And there's tons of videos on how to make drag and drop activities in Google Slides. Ooh, I'm only a few minutes over. All right, so I am going to stop sharing and then I am going to answer. I'll actually stop recording. So let me just